Look, let's look now at the World Health Organization chief, Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus. He couldn't have lavished more praise on China for its handling of the pandemic early last year. But he now says that China needs to come clean, be transparent, and that he says that COVID-19 could have come from a laboratory leak in Wuhan and that lab accidents are common. Have a look at this.
We are asking, actually, China to be transparent, open, and cooperate, especially on the information raw data that we asked for at the early days of the pandemic. There was a premature push to, especially reduce one of the options, like the lab theory.
You just couldn't get a greater shift in position. Not surprisingly, China's propaganda outlet, the Global Times, has now hit back. They've quoted the former chief epidemiologist of the Chinese Center for Disease Control and Prevention, Zheng Guang. He was reported as saying, "I believe Tedros made such remarks out of pressure from some Western countries as the Phase 2 Origin study was about to begin, and he also needs the West's support as he plans to run for a second 5-year term as the head of the agency." Gosh, I hope nobody supports him in that bid. The World Health Organization clearly exacerbated the spread of the virus through some of the moves it took early last year. This former head of China's CDC also said that US biological labs need to be examined to see whether they started the outbreak. You see this more and more in the comments from China. They're starting to say that it might have come from a US biological warfare laboratory. Now, just in the past couple of days, CNN has reported that the Biden administration officials believe that the theory that the virus accidentally escaped from a lab in Wuhan is just as credible as the possibility that it emerged naturally in the wild from animals. This is, again, a backflip, not just the WHO, but a backflip from a year ago when the Democrats did downplay the lab leak theory. Amanda, what do you think about this backflip that we've seen from Tedros and the WHO?
Well, look, my interest here, and I can't really comment on, I guess, the different theories or information out there. I just want to see transparency, and I want us to actually get to the bottom of the origins of this virus, and not for any finger pointing or blame, but really so that we can put everything as an international community in place so that it doesn't happen again. Obviously, COVID-19 has had such far-reaching impact across the world, and knowing the origins of it, knowing how it eventuated and how we can prevent it. So transparency is key in this. WHO has obviously called for that now as they progress. And I would say as an international community, that's what we need. We need a transparent investigation, and we need really to know where this came from so that we can prevent it from happening again, if we can, or at least minimise the risk of this happening again.
Absolutely. Tony Pasin, why do you think there has been such an enormous change in position from the World Health Organization and also from the Democrats, where the Biden administration is taking this seriously, is examining it, and says that a lab leak is just as likely as a natural zoonotic jump?
Well, Shari, the reality here is Tedros and the WHO have been mugged by reality. The reality is there are two competing hypotheses about how COVID-19 came to be spread across the globe, killing more than 4 million humans to this point, and the reality that China in particular are obfuscating their responsibility to be open and transparent and allow the world and humanity more generally to get to the bottom of this. And why is it important to get to the bottom of it? Because we're still dealing with this pandemic, but more importantly, so that we can deal with future pandemics, should they be in any way connected or linked, aside from owing it to, as I said, the 4 million people, the billions of people who have otherwise been impacted. Now, I've got to give you a shout out. Shari, you've been someone who's been on this for a long time, even when it was, I think, a little unpopular, to be honest. And the reality is, unless we get to the bottom of this, we'll never know. And of course, we're now hearing these spurious claims that it's from China, that it's an act of chemical warfare coming out of the US or biological warfare coming out of the US. I mean, that's why transparency, clear, global investigation is important, and none of that can happen unless we have unequivocal cooperation from the CCP.
Yeah, 100%. And thank you for those kind words.